I never just talk to you, do I? Well, I'm gonna work on that. Hi, welcome friends. I am back after an absence of a couple months, which I never really intended to do, but I have been at a crossroads, I guess you could say. Let's move this microphone closer, shall we? I think I was gonna do that, and I forgot. Hope I don't kick it. That's probably well within my MO, and now the light's gonna do some funky things on me, but such is life. So, I don't know, life is weird and things have been happening and then not happening, and I kind of thought it might be time. Let's roll back a second. My channel is 1 year old, roundabout now. This isn't going to be exact, but end of September. Yeah, so this channel's about a year old. Yay me, I stuck with it. Or did I? Do the last 2 months count? Or was it 3 months? So I kind of had the thought that it might be time to try some new things. I had originally thought that I would eventually phase in new ideas, new video styles and things like that, but I kind of had wanted to wait until I had a bigger audience so I could ask what y'all wanted to see. But, things don't always go as planned, and now is the time to just take a leap. So I thought I would do a chatty video, which I've never done before, and this is going to be a rambling hot mess. Hopefully you will only see a little of the ramble, and I, editing Lindsay, will just have to deal with the hot mess part. I have made myself a cup of cocoa. I hope you will also pour yourself a cup of something pleasant and join me, and we're just gonna have a little chat. And I thought an appropriate topic would be finishing things. How do we, as crafters, manage to finish things? Because that has been heavy on my mind for the last couple of months as I have had curveball after curveball thrown at me, and, my entire MO has kind of shifted a little bit in the past couple of months. So, wow, that did not even get stirred right. I am a hot mess. I've been sleep deprived and icky, and no, we're not going to that. So, quick story time. I, as an individual, as a young person, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and I have sunlight shining in my eyes, and it's going to distract me, but it won't be there long, I'm sure. Historically, I never finished things. I just didn't. I would start things, I would want to finish them, and I don't know, at some point would hit a wall and just not get it done. Now, that's not 100% true. Like, there are things that I would finish, gifts for people, things like that I really wanted to get done. I did. I was capable of finishing things, but when it came to homework, I didn't finish, or just, crafts and hobbies that I just wanted to do for myself, I was notorious for not getting them done. And in college, I had learned to crochet. I picked up knitting again and learned to do a little bit more of it. I did some embroidery. I made some blankets for my nephews, and I made scarves and things like that. And, gifts for everybody in my family kind of thing. But, there were some projects that just fell away, right? So, then I moved, and what happened was I moved to a place with, a really gross carpet, and I didn't want what I was crocheting and knitting to, touch the floor, and so I just kind of never pulled it out and just stopped for, 15 years, I stopped knitting and crocheting because my floor was gross. I don't know. I made the occasional thing, but then I got bit by the bug to really get back into crafting again. I can't even remember the actual catalyst. then my boss got me a gift of embroidery stitches from A to Z, and I started like doing some embroidery. I started teaching embroidery to my preschool students. I was a preschool art teacher at the time, and I remembered these projects from before college, that were in storage at my dad's. And so I kind of made this deal with myself that if I was going to start crafting again, if I was going to start doing all these stitchy things again, I had to prove to myself that I could finish them. I could not allow myself to spend all this money on, yarn and supplies and all these fun things if I couldn't prove that I could finish things. And so that was the deal I made with myself. If I'm going to get into this expensive hobby, I'm going to finish things. And so I made my dad dig these 4 projects out of storage, and he sent them to me, and I did. I finished 2 of them. One right away. Like, there wasn't even that much to do. It was just tedious and like dark green on dark green cross, like half stitches. Like, it was just dumb. But like, I did it in a weekend, like finished it. And then there was another piece that I had intended to give as a gift to someone that was no longer really in my life, and I found someone else to give it to, and I finished it. And there's still 2 more that I'm not really interested. Like, I don't like them. But still, the goal was met. Like, I proved that I could finish things, and so I started buying things more and more and more. But here's the thing. As this light just like keeps piercing my face, I don't know if I can keep moving out of it. I know the story time is getting a little long. Hopefully I can trim it down. I'll fix it in post. But here's the thing. In my bargain with myself to finish things, the way that I accomplished that was by focusing on that and doing nothing else until it was done. I mean, I would have like maybe a couple projects of, different type going, like a crochet thing here, an embroidery thing here, a couple different things that I could go back and forth between. But at the core, I didn't do anything else. I don't work on, writing anymore. I don't do puzzles much anymore. That's mostly because I don't have a table big enough. I made the trade-off. In order to finish things, I focus only on that thing. And so this summer, when life threw me a few different curveballs and I found myself unable to proceed with my plans of what things I was going to focus on, I was kind of at a loss. Like, I didn't know what to work on because that was my focus. These projects, in case you don't know, it was just a community post, I think, that I put it on, but I'd had 6 projects lined up that I was going to do to make a Barbie outfit. And I had spent 2 months knitting the first part of it. And then the actors' strike happened, and I can't go against that on this channel. And so I had to sideline all of that work and all of that focus. And I had other things going on too that, just took a lot of my mental space. And so not having a project on the go, ready to go and film and, be a new plan, I just lost all of my ability to finish things entirely, and I've kind of been living in that realm of uncertainty for a couple months now. And oh my goodness sakes, I can't win. The sun is moving faster than I don't even know. I need a good country bumpkin metaphor for how fast that sun is moving into my eyes. So what I ended up doing was resorting basically back to my old habits of just, I want to work on this, I'm going to start this. Now I want to work on this, I'm going to start that. And they're all things that would make great episodes for this channel. But how do I finish one in time? right? Like, in the way that I set up this channel, even just doing 2 episodes a month is a lot because I take a whole week to edit video. I am so slow at editing. It's not getting any better. It's actually getting worse because my computer is getting worse. But what that means is that I have a week to work on a project. And, sometimes if I have enough foresight, I can start it early enough and work it alongside something else, or I can do a more intensive project with a quick and easy project, but that takes planning ahead. And that is not what I was able to do when everything went up in smoke. So now I'm working on like multiple projects. Some are not even for episodes. They're just things I want to do. One's a Christmas present, so I can't even show it to you. And I started thinking, like, how do we as crafters finish things? We each have our own techniques and little trickety tricks that we do to convince ourselves that, like, yeah, I want to focus on this. I want to work on this. I want to get this done. But I bet a lot of us also, even if we don't have ADHD, probably have those tendencies because, there's always the shiny new project, right? That we want to start. We want to do that. So how do we finish the other one? So with everything else that was going on, I thought, let's just have a little chat about how we finish things. So I want to open it up to you guys in the comments down below. And give us your tips and tricks and strategies and all of these things for how you convince yourself to finish things, how you decide what to finish. I want to give some tips on that. And I haven't written them down. And what I'd been doing up until now was working. It was working pretty well. And so is that sun. Oh my goodness. Why? It's fall. Go away, sun. You're pretty, but I want my fall now. Please. Just stop. So, what are my top tricks for finishing things? Well, up until now, these are the things that I tried to utilize, and I think they work really well, and the reason it's not working for me is because I am not using one of them. Tip number 1, be judicious in what you choose to start. What that might mean is sometimes there's something that you really think you're going to like, and then you'll start it and realize you don't really like it that much. And maybe you'll still want to do it, but it depends on what else you've got going on at the same time. So, for example, I think in my video, my box of I don't wanna video, one of the pieces in there is a cross-stitch piece of this beautiful Art Deco vase. And I love that piece. And I've got to get it done. And I haven't touched it in... I don't even know how long. Why? Because it is chock full of 1/2 and 1/4 crosses. And I learned on this piece, if I had known it beforehand, might have made a different choice, but I learned that I don't like doing those. I mean, one here and there is okay, but this is at least 25% 1/2 and 1/4 crosses, and it just got so tedious that I never wanted to work on it. So it's languishing. And while that piece, I don't know when I'll get that done, I have taken the lesson. When I start a cross-stitch piece, I'm going to pay attention to what I like to do when I cross-stitch. I like to do big blocks of solid color. I like to do full crosses. And, I like to do small pieces. I don't have any interest in doing a full coverage piece, so I'm not going to. So that helps me finish my cross-stitch projects because I'm judicious in which projects I choose to do, no matter how pretty. Like, I have a few dozen heaven and earth design patterns saved on my wish list. But at this point in my life, they're not going to get done. So they wait. So yeah, tip number 1, be judicious in what projects you choose to take on. Tip number 2, limit how many projects you have going on. Now this one takes a lot of self-discipline. But it's so important. This is the one that I have been utilizing the most over the last couple of years when I have actually been finishing things. You know, there are a lot of projects that I'm really itching to start on. But if I let myself do that, then the other things are not going to get done. So I gotta wait. It's self-discipline. It's so hard to wait. It's so hard. I have a shelf full of yarn to make like 12 sweaters now. And I even know what some of those sweaters are going to be, but I can't do it. I've got some other things I need to finish before I can start one of those. Because I do already have a crochet sweater thing going, and I do already have a knitting project going. So, I gotta wait on those sweaters. If you have too many works in progress, some are gonna get buried, right? It's a self-discipline one, and I'm not good at self-discipline, but if you want to finish things, it's a big one, because otherwise they're just gonna get buried under the pile of whips. So, that's tip number 2. Limit how many you have going. Let's see. So those are my first 2 tips. What's another good tip? I know them. My brain is just blanking right now. I've never done a chatty video before. How is this going for you? Is this going all right? I talk a lot. I ramble. I don't always speak in like linear fashion, and I feel really wiggly today, and the sun is all like weird, and my bangs are too long and like weird. But the cats aren't making noise and the dogs aren't barking, so I think hashtag winning, yeah? How else do we finish things? Routine. So tip number 3, I'm gonna say make a routine. This is the one I really struggle with because I have not had a good routine since I moved, and my ability to finish things has definitely suffered. So, for a while, I had a great routine where I would go through my workday and I would get all my things done, and I never turned on the television until dinner time. And I would watch TV with dinner, wash my hands, and then continue after that with some form of stitching, right? And, I did kind of have the routine of watching things I've seen before, so I don't have to look at them. Or, my favorite, Bob Ross. I don't know why this is under routine, but if you need a really great stitching, crafting companion that you don't really have to look at, my top recommendation is Bob Ross. I cannot tell you the number of times where what he has said somehow has pertained to what kind of stitching I'm doing. I don't even know how that works. But that was my routine. That I would watch a couple. In fact, sometimes I measure how much stitching I'm gonna get done by how many bobs. How many bobs do I watch? So, that was a really pleasant routine that I had for a while. And, it was a nice way to wind down at the end of my day. And then I would go to bed, start all over again. But this one has been a struggle since my move because I have not been able to create a good daily routine for myself. Just because of how everything else has been lately. It's hard sometimes to carve out that time for crafting when you're really busy, and it takes a certain amount of mental focus. And for me, I know like there's sometimes that I want to work on this thing, but I just can't settle my brain enough to do it. Can't even pick it up out of the basket or whatever it's in and get started. So, and I think that if I get into a routine, that will improve drastically, because then you don't even have to think about it, you know? So yeah, tip number 3, routine. Have a routine for when you can do some crafting. Tip number 4. This one I learned from National Novel Writing Month. Tip number 4 is deadlines. However arbitrary they need to be. Like when you're gifting, when it's Christmas, there's a birthday, whatever, the deadlines are natural. Like they make themselves, right? But a thing that's just for yourself, that you're just doing on a whim. Now, nothing against, you know, some people just want to stitch for the process. And you just want to stitch just to stitch. And I am all for that too. But if you want to have the goal of getting something done, you need to set a goal for when to get it done by, right? And, you know, it can be arbitrary. And it can even just be like, I want to finish this section by this date. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's just a goal that you can set yourself to, that you can set for yourself. And in National Novel Writing Month, if you've never participated, it's shortened to NaNoWriMo. And the goal is just to write 50,000 words of a novel in 30 days. I have not done it in many years, but I did do it many times. I don't even remember, like 9 times? I don't even know. Bunch of times. Succeeded most of the times. But the idea that you have this goal and you have a reason to meet it, it really helped me to focus on what I was trying to do. And then it also, I think the reason I brought up NaNoWriMo specifically, when I read the book on NaNoWriMo back in college, the thing that struck me the most was the invisible guilt monkeys. I think we as crafters probably don't need any help getting those invisible guilt monkeys to come and hound us, but I don't know, they kind of amuse me just enough to let them work for me and you know, keep me on task, but not annoyingly so, and not in a way that, you know, I mean, it's a guilt monkey. It's not real guilt, right? I don't know where I'm going with that, but, you know, we find whatever tricks and tools help us, and that's what this is about. And for me, having those deadlines, you know, in the past really helped. And then, you know, just nothing gets your butt in gear like having a YouTube channel with people who are expecting, you know, videos on a regular basis, at least until something knocks you on your butt and you don't know how to continue, but that's neither here nor there. You know, having that accountability basically is what it's about. What the invisible guilt monkeys are about. Even if you don't have a human person holding you accountable and saying, come on, get this, you got that thing you wanted to finish, right? You have the invisible guilt monkeys that can be like screeching in your ear. So yeah, that what are we on? Tip number 4, deadlines. Tip number 5, allow yourself not to. Allow yourself not to finish the thing that you just don't want to do. You know, if there's that sweater that's just not coming out right, rip it. Just rip it out. Use yarn for something else. Is it wasted time? I know it feels like it, but you learned something. You learned something you don't like to do, you know? You got some good practice. You probably, you know, worked on your tension a bit. You know, there's things like that. So just use the yarn for something else. Allow yourself to not finish it, you know? If there's a cross-stitch project that you're just not feeling anymore, put it away for a while. Put it away. Take it off your plate. Let it breathe. Let it ride. Come come back in a year, couple months, whatever seems like a reasonable time to you. Come back to it when you're fresh. See if you still want to finish it then. And if you don't, guess what? That's okay. Because this is a hobby. We do this for fun. Even if it's supposed to be a gift, you'll find another gift for that person. I think also, there are enough crafters in the world that you might be able to find somebody who wants a half-done project. Not everybody will want to do a project that somebody else worked on, but some will. And you know what? Some may just want the materials. Like, even if you've got a half-done, I've got some half-done embroideries and needle points, and I don't know for sure if I'm going to finish the work these other people did. But if I don't, you know what? I could rip the yarn out of that needlepoint canvas, and I've got a nice little piece of needlepoint canvas, right? I can recycle it. Okay, I know I've got another one. Where'd it go? If I come up with another tip while I'm talking, while I continue talking, we'll just backtrack it. I was so desperate to make myself finish things, to get away from that end of having all of these projects on the go that I just never finished. I was so desperate to prove that I could finish things that I swung all the way the other way to where I only had this. And I had this laser focus on this project and this project and this project, and nothing else could get in. And so when I couldn't do that anymore, I kind of had forgotten how to do this, but I also didn't want to swing all the way back that way. I didn't want to be a pendulum. One of the things that kind of stymied me when I had to stop what I was doing and there was no point in continuing the projects that I was going to do. I'll get back to them. I still want to get back to them. Was not only did I not know what to work on next, but every time I thought, I'll work on that, I just didn't quite have the brain space to start the project. And so this is where I might contradict one of my tips for how to finish things. But that's why this is not a top tips list video. It's a discussion. It's a chat, because we have different tricks for different things. And so one of the things that stymied me was okay, I want to work on this cross-stitch project. Oh, well, now I have to find the floss. I have to find the fabric. I have to, make sure the pattern's ready to go. I have to count. I have to do all these things. I have to measure the fabric. I have to frame it up. There's all of these things that you need to do before you can begin a project. Or if I'm going to knit something, I have to make sure, is this enough yarn? Do I need another yarn? Do I need to swatch it? Do I have the right needles? Is this the size that I need? Or do I need to, there's all of these things. So I wanted to start, every time I decided on a project I wanted to start, I just didn't quite have the wherewithal to do those preliminary steps. And, sadly, even with my kits, you would think a kit kind of takes some of that off your plate. And that's true. You've already got all of the materials right there for most types of kits. There are some kits where you still have to, supply some things, but there's still the framing up, or, some of the kits that I want to work on the most, I need to buy a scroll frame for because they're large needlepoint pieces. And so they still can't quite be done. And so I kind of had this thought of maybe what I need to do is choose a few different projects and just get them started. Just do those first steps, so that when I want to pick something up, I guess this is a different conversation. This is more how to begin things. But, you can't finish what you don't start. And so I kind of did that. Instead of figuring out, okay, what project to make for my channel, I thought, I'm just going to start a few different things. So I started making some granny squares for a stash buster. And, you know, I could probably make that into an episode, but I haven't really been filming a lot of it. I started making a Christmas present, which I knew I was going to need a lot of time for. So I started that early because I've never made this before. And then I started another project, which is going to be for an episode. And, you know, here's where, again, I run into problems because I'm stitching it a lot slower than I thought I would. This video that you're watching right now is probably going to be put out when I wanted that one to be. What lesson do we learn? We learn that there's always going to be problems. I mean, crafter problems, right? The other side to what got me thinking about how we as crafters finish things was this channel and me finishing videos. Because one thing that's hard to remember when you watch a crafting video, when you watch, you know, sewing, knitting, any crafter, any YouTube video at all, you know, you're watching them make the thing, but then they also have to make the video about making the thing. So whenever I finish a project for a YouTube channel, I'm not only finishing the project, I have to finish the video. That's actually the thing I've been struggling with more. It's not that I don't like editing, but my computer sure doesn't. And it takes a really long time. And then, you know, I just kind of lose patience for it sometimes. And so I have a video that I filmed before everything went haywire. And at first I didn't want to look at it because it just, you know, when you look at a video of yourself in a before time, and I wasn't feeling that at the moment. And then when I finally did go into editing it, like, it has issues. It has poor lighting that it was way worse than I thought it was. And so the video quality is not great. It's a library day video. I think it's mostly edited, and yet I still have a hard time wanting to look at it. So for all my tips on how to finish a craft project, how do I make them apply to video projects? I mean, that is also a craft project, right? But I can't sit there and do it while I watch TV. I gotta hone in on that. I can only do that when I'm doing that. I can't even listen to music, like, unless it's part of the video, in which case I'm listening to the same little bit over and over again. So, you know, that's another thing that got me thinking about how we finish things. My cocoa's cold. My cup probably looks gross because that's what cocoa does. Okay, there is another tip. One of the things that hinders me the most in pretty much every aspect of life are walls. Invisible walls that just, I can't even explain sometimes. You know, it's like having a glass door there and you see what you want on the other side and you reach out, you try and go for it, and it just stops you, but you can't see it, so you don't know what it is. I may not know how to overcome all of my walls for all of my problems when it comes to finishing things. But one of those walls that I can name, and I have a feeling plenty of you probably come across from time to time too, is simply overwhelm. You know, sometimes a project seems so big and so daunting that we just get overwhelmed and we don't know where to start. And if we can't start it, how can we finish it? Well, that's tip number 6. Take smaller bites. Or as I used to say to my preschool students whenever I would give them a daunting art project, how do you eat a sandwich? Do you just shove the whole thing into your mouth? No. You take bites and you chew them and you swallow them. You take another bite and you chew it and you swallow it. When I was making my first garment, there were a lot of things about sewing that I hadn't learned yet. I got through it by taking it one step at a time. And again, the thing that I was knitting on for 2 months is a sweater. And I had never knit a sweater before in my life. I was quite daunted. And I had also never followed a knitting pattern before. And I still struggle with following knitting patterns and crochet patterns because my brain just doesn't seem to want to translate the abbreviations in real time. They just look like alphabet soup to me, and I can't quite picture what is meant by all of those letters and abbreviations. I'm not really an abbreviation person in general. I don't even write okay. I write OKAY. Anyway, I know, for example, with like a knitting and crochet project, the advice usually is to read the whole pattern, so you know what's coming. But I couldn't do that. I would try to read the whole pattern, but I couldn't make sense of it. So what I did, I found a pattern that was short, and I knew, I had looked at it, I knew there wasn't any, big strings of alphabet soup coming up. But when it came time to actually work on it, I just looked at the first step. I didn't worry about what I was going to have to do next. I just looked, okay, 2 inches of ribbing. Okay, I can do that. Not going to look at what's next, not going to worry about what's next until I finish 2 inches of ribbing. I know how to do ribbing. Okay, I finished the ribbing. Now let's see. Okay, increases. I have to learn how to do increases. Okay, but I'm not going to worry about what's after that. So I would just take it one step at a time, one tiny bite at a time. And, you get through the whole project that way. Now, it's true, sometimes things might throw you for a curve, and, that advice could backfire if you hit a step that has something that you just really don't understand or have the time to learn how to do on the fly. But again, that's going to come down to being judicious with what projects you choose in the first place, right? When I chose this sweater, I chose one that was just stockinette. Actually, eventually someday when the video comes out, you'll see that it did actually have cables, but I didn't do the cables. I took them out and I did the whole thing in plain stockinette. So I knew there wasn't going to be any surprises in that. I chose a sweater in shape that was just a simple shape. So I knew that I was going to have to learn to do increases and decreases and not much else on that sweater. Now that I've done that, my next sweater, I'll scaffold up and I'll do, what am I doing in my next sweater? Have I decided? Sleeves. The first one didn't have sleeves. So the second one probably will have sleeves. But they'll probably be, knit all in one piece. So, that kind of goes with, it's kind of two halves of the same tip. You take smaller bites and you scaffold your learning. You scaffold those skills. You're going up the stairs one step at a time. You can't jump straight to the top, right? You take a step and now you're higher. So you can take that next step. And okay, now you can take the next step. There was a writing book, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. I know a lot of people don't like that book, and I don't even remember much. The second time I read it, there was a lot I didn't like anymore. But one line from it has always stuck with me is, and I'm not even going to quote it directly, but the idea of driving at night, and you can only see as far as your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. I think that can really help finishing a daunting project. For some reason, as much as I love embroidery, I'm somehow always too daunted to start a new embroidery project, because I'll look at it and be like, oh no, that's too much. That's just a lot of different things and there's a lot going on, and how do I know where to begin? But you know what? Every time I just sit down and I say, okay, I'm going to start here. That's it. I'm going to start here. That's all you need to decide in order to start an embroidery project. And I'm like, oh, this is easy. This is all the stitches. It's just, going around and around. I don't know. I'm losing it now. So that's tip number 6. Take smaller bites when you're feeling overwhelmed. These are just things that I have found useful, and things that may not be useful for me now. What helps us in one part of our lives may not help in another part of our lives, and that is okay. It is okay to change tactics, switch gears, and just move on. Sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to get these things done, and I think it's okay to just ease up a little. Take the pressure off, if it doesn't get done, even if you set yourself a deadline, that's okay if it doesn't get done by that deadline. It's nice to have the goal, but we don't have to beat ourselves up if we don't reach that goal, And by taking the pressure off, we can keep it fun. And if we can keep it fun, then we'll want to do it, and, we'll enjoy the process more. Even if you've got a deadline for a birthday or a holiday or a gift, for a gift at all, and you don't finish it by that time. I mean, sometimes it's hard to give something after the fact. I had a project I was doing for a coworker's going away, and I was worried I'd pretty much never see her again after her last day, so I knew I had to get it done for her last day, but, actually I did see her again. I could have given it to her later. There are some things, if you're making a blanket for somebody or, something involved like that, you could give them a picture or let them see, as their gift, when they need something to open, let them open the partially finished thing and say, okay, but you can't keep it because I gotta finish it. Let them see what you're working on the day that you need to give that gift, and then say, okay, but I'm going to finish it, and I wanted to do it right, so I didn't want to rush it. So yeah, I think we need to find whatever tricks we can to keep it enjoyable, keep it fun, and then we'll want to work on it. And, if you can't put it down, it's going to get done, right? I think I've said all I needed to say. I just wanted to chat with you about finishing things, and I think I have done that. I have finished chatting about finishing things. So now I need to finish editing this video. That's a little trickier. So I gotta quit saying so. I don't know how. I'm sorry. You don't know how many so's I edit out of my videos. So it's my biggest segue. I don't know what to do about it. I hope this was good for you. I hope this was helpful. If you like this kind of chatty video, let me know. And I was hoping to do more. If you don't like it, let me know if I shouldn't do more. I don't know if I'm very good at chatty videos. I might not be. That's okay. I guess this is my season 2 opener. I really should give you some idea of what to expect this season, except I'm not entirely sure. I think I want to try some new things. We'll do some more chatty videos like this if you liked this. I'd like to share videos about plans that I have. There's just a lot of things that I want to do around my crafting materials and make the most out of my craft supplies and out of my hobbies, and just make cool things. Make vintage things, and I want to share them with you. And if I can make a go of some of those chattier things, I'm hoping that I can find a way to release more than 2 episodes a month. So I've got some work to do, but this channel's not going anywhere yet. We're just gonna keep plugging away and do what we can do. And some more advice I always gave to my preschool students, just do what you can do. Worry about the rest after that. So, with that said, I have got to go. The sun is finally gone to the other side of the house, and I have some cross-stitching to do. If you liked this video, I think you know what to do. And do please remember the comment section down below to chat amongst yourselves and with me, and, you know, just share our best tips and tricks for how to finish things and get these projects done that we love so much and, you know, want to get out of our hair so we can move on to the next one that we will love so much. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Have a great day, happy crafting, and I will see you next time. Bye. I had to move the camera, but I had to put it back. Make alongs and stitch alongs. That's the other thing I'm really hoping to get to this year on this channel. Probably not till January, but I've got a project that I've been wanting to do for this channel for a long time that will include a free or pay what you want pattern once I get the pattern finalized. And it finally occurred to me, let's do it as a make along, a stitch along. And we can learn its needlepoint and we can learn stitches together. So hopefully that will be coming this year on this channel as well. So if any of that sounds good to you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for my next project video. Hopefully that will be out relatively soon. Okay, bye. I did this whole video with my button undone. Oh, good lord. Well, I'm wearing a tank top under this shirt, so it's okay. But, we'll let that be an Easter egg. Who's gonna notice that my button was undone?